Yasu. Kalispera.
Καλησπέρα.
Kalispera.
Καλησπέρα. Γεια σου.
Kalos Irathate. Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to this gathering of Greek and American poets. I'm John Curl. I'll be introducing the American poets, and Sarah Thilykou will introduce the Greek poets, and we'll alternate between Greek and American poets. The idea of this international reading was first proposed by Sarah when we met in Athens last year. We had connected through this multilingual poetry anthology that I was co-editing for the Revolutionary Poets Brigade here in San Francisco, called Healing a Fractured World. And all the American poets here today are members of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, or connected with us, which was founded 14 years ago by the late Jack Hirschman, Sarah Menefee, who is here today, and other poets. Well, we're meeting here today to read poetry at a moment while the Middle East and Ukraine burn and innocent people's lives are being destroyed. Yet our poetry is a vital contribution, perhaps the most powerful contribution that we as poets can make today. As the Revolutionary Poets Brigade mission statement states, quote, "In our common struggle toward freedom as artists, we have the most powerful tool of all, the ability to inspire, transform, and liberate." So today, as our world is once again being engulfed in war and insanity, the poets of Greece and America can join in the solidarity of poetry and say, "Ohi, no to war and fascism, and yes to life." So I'll pass the torch to Sarah now, who will introduce the Greek poets and say a few words about the reading and get us started. Sarah?
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. On behalf of all of us Greek poets, I would like to thank you for this kind invitation. I would like to thank all members of Revolutionary Poets Brigade. It was a brilliant idea, and it's very nice that it's been realized today. This kindness reminds me that of your predecessor, John, that of Jack Hirschman. I remember him. He was very devoted to poetry. He knew how to bring poets together in order to celebrate poetry. And that's the case exactly today. We're here from all over the globe to celebrate poetry. And I quite agree with you. We have to send our very weapons, words, against chaos, against fascism and war. And so here we are today, poets from all over the globe. As I said, I regret that Dimitri Haralambous, who was invited by Revolutionary Poets Brigade, was not able to join us. He would represent Hellenic diaspora in the States, which is the largest community in the world, the largest Greek community. But nevertheless, I think we still have a wide representation, as we have poets from main Greece, as also Melbourne, Australia. Konstantinos is being connected from Cyprus. So we have a wide representation. And allow me to introduce you to my fellow Greek poets who responded happily to this invitation, and I'm grateful to them also. To begin with, Fani Athanasiadou. Fani Athanasiadou, she was born in Athens, but she has been living in Thessaloniki. She has published 5 poetic collections. Her poems have distinguished with prizes. They have been presented in literary radio programs, international poetic festivals, literary anthologies, and magazines. Also, they have been presented as theatrical analogium by the National Theatre of Northern Greece. She has occupied herself with theatre, radio, and cinema. Fani, you have the floor.
Good evening from Thessaloniki of Greece to all of you. Thank you greatly for this invitation. It's my honor to take part with all of you in this literary poetic meeting, this international proposal for the peace and the join of people with poetry. Thank you greatly. And then I am reading my poems. At first in Greek and then in English language. Καταγραφή. Σημάδια και σημαίες. Λάβαρα και λάθη. Ενοχές και ένοπλες σειράξεις. Δρόμοι και δάδες. Πύρινα λόγια και πράξεις. Ταξίδι και τάξη στον κόσμο. Παραλογισμός. Κρυφτό με τα όπλα, πόλεμος, παραδόσεις, στιγμές και στάσεις με παύσεις, αναπολώ, έρωτες, εκρήξεις και ευχές, αίμα, σημεία στίξης σε μηνύματα, σεισμός και λάβα ηφαιστείου, γλιώδη υποστρώματα και γυρολόγοι ξεπουλούν, ζωή χωρίς απάντηση ζητώ, ζωφερή νύχτα κυλά και ρέει, απόσταση και ερώτηση. Πού είναι, τι, ποιος, γιατί. Έκσταση, φουσάτα φροηδικά, νευρωτικές αποχρώσεις του νου. Ιστερία και ιστερόγραφο. Το τέλος. In English now. Register or signs and flanks. Signs and flanks. Banners and mistakes, guilt and armed flourishes, streets and torches, words and acts of fire, journey and order in the world, absurdity, playing hide and seek with arms, moments and stops with passes, I'm news over, loves, bursts and wishes, blunt, punctuation marks on messages, earthquake and volcano lava, smarmy some straight and pendless set out, life with no answer I ask, murky night flows and streams, distance a question, where is, what, who, why, ecstasy, Frontian troops, nevrotic nuances of the mind, hysteria and tell peace, the end. Στο δρόμο για το Πίτσμπουργκ. Στο δρόμο για το Πίτσμπουργκ οδηγούσε ο Νιούμαν, όχι ο Πολ, αλλά ο δίδυμος αδελφός του. Πήγαινε να συναντήσει την αγαπημένη του Λόρα σε κάποιο μοτέλ, στην πρώτη παρακαμπτήριο του μεγάλου αυτοκινητόδρομου. Αφού ήπιαν βιαστικά ένα μπέρμπον και δώσανε όρκους αιώνιας πίστης και αγάπης, σημάδια ανασφάλειας όλων των ανθρώπων. Εκείνος πήγε για μια παρτίδα μπιλιάρδου. Θα έκανε τους συνηθισμένους του θεατρινισμούς σε ένα ακόμη καλά στημένο παιχνίδι για να εξασφαλίσει τα προστοζήν του επόμενου μήνα. Δεν ήταν δα και λίγα. Ύστερα θα επέστρεφε σε εκείνη και σαν να μην συνέβαινε τίποτα, θα της έταζε ένα ακόμα ταξίδι του μέλιτος μακριά από τα φώτα της πόλης. On the way to Pittsburgh. On the way to Pittsburgh, Newman was driving, not Paul, but his twin brother. He was going to meet his beloved Laura at some motel at the first bypass of the big highway. After having a held bourbon and after pledging eternal faith and love, sign of insecurity of all people, he went for a game of billiards. He would do his usual antics in another well-reached game in order to earn his living. For next month, the cost wasn't small. Then he would return to her, and as if nothing had happened, he would promise another honeymoon away from the city lights. The next poem. Ενωτική πορεία. Θα ανταμώσουμε στις τραυματισμένες ράμπες της νιώτης μας, συνεχίζοντας την πορεία που διάβρωσε η μοίρα, με το ενωτικό χαμόγελο της αγάπης και τα χαρακωμένα χέρια σφιχταγκαλιασμένα να κυλούν τις ρόδες του χρόνου. Και σαν φτάσουμε αντάμα στο λόφο με τις πράσινες καμέλιες και τα άγουρα στα φύλλα, θα ταινίσουμε με το ίδιο φωτεινό βλέμμα το μέλλον, που θα μοιάζει σαν ούφαρο που άνθησε στην άκρη ενός γκρεμού. Unified march. We will meet in the injured ramps of our youth, continuing the march which fate eroded, with the unifying smile of love, and our engraved hands tightly embraced, rolling the wheels of time. And when we arrive together at the hill with the green camellias and the unripe grapes, we will gaze with the same bright eyes at the future that will bloom like a water lily on the verge of a cliff. And now the last my poem, I would like to read first in English and then in Greek language for a thank you in our American people poets. Usual outing. Our usual outing was every second week, Tuesday, Thursday, or any other day, preferably in the evening. In the end, we used to meet on the first day of each month. We were exchanging smiles, gentleness, and compliments while drinking hot drinks, and eating a variety of different snacks. We were afraid of the evasion of the sneaky germ of routine, because it could make our meeting indifferent and meaningless. Κοινή έξοδος. Ήταν η κοινή μας έξοδος κάθε δεύτερη εβδομάδα, Τρίτη, Πέμπτη ή μια οποιαδήποτε άλλη μέρα, κατά προτίμηση βραδινές ώρες. Στο τέλος, οι συναντήσεις μας καθιερώθηκε να γίνονται σταθερά κάθε πρώτη του μήνα. Ανταλλάσσαμε μεταξύ μας χαμόγελα, αυρότητες και κοπλιμέντα, εν μέσω ζεστού ροφήματος και ποικιλίας από σνακ, διαφορετικών γεύσεων τη φορά, φοβούμενες μην τυχόν και τρυπώσει ανάμεσά μας το ύπουλο μικρόβιο της συνήθειας και κάνει αδιάφορες και ανούσιες τις κοινές συνευρέσεις μας. Thank you very much again for the invitation and the joy to be with all of you. Thank you greatly.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ, Fani.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ και εγώ.
So our first American poet is going to be Mahnaz Badhian, who has an MFA from Pacific University, an MA from Baltimore University, a DDS from the University of Iowa. Mahnaz has published many books of poetry in Farsi, English, and in translation. She edited Plague 2020, Poetry and Art from Around the World, and her recent collection of poems, Ask the Wind, was published in 2022. She runs mamag.org. So Mahnaz.
Thank you, John, for your introduction, and welcome everyone. I will read one poem, first in Farsi and then in English, dedicating this poem to the people of Middle East that they are going through a hell of a time right now. دخترم ایران، در خاورمیانه دنبال تو میگردم، در توده‌ای از اجساد زخمی و شکسته، با شکم‌هایی تهی شده، چشمانی پر از گلوله، با مرواریدهای شکسته در دهانت، دنبال تو میگردم دخترم ایران، تو در تاریکی گم شده ای و ما در سپیده دم، در جستجوی خاک مادری تو، در جستجوی زن، زندگی، آزادی، از پشت بام‌های شکسته فریاد میزنیم. خاورمیانه تو را بلعید و غرب تو را فروخت به پوسیدگی عمامه و عبا. دخترم ایران، دخترم ایران. My daughter Iran. In the Middle East, we tirelessly seek your trace amidst a sea of bodies wounded and defaced, with empty bellies, eyes marred by bullets, with fractured pearls within your mouth encased. My daughter Iran, in shadows you're lost, and at dawn in quest of your sacred land, searching for woman, life, freedom at any cost. We cry from a shattered rooftop. Our voice expands. The Middle East, a voracious devourer, the West, a traitor selling power to the rot of turbans and cloaks. A dark hour. My daughter Iran, your body torn by the enemy's wild plan. They stole your organs, but your courage they can't withstand. You're rising like the sun on this ancient land. Thank you.
Hey, Hoop, Vogiatzoglou.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sarah?
Yes. We're going to Christos Niaros. Christos comes from Ioannina and Arta. He studied at the chemical department of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. He is now a permanent resident of his second homeland, Melbourne, where he was involved in radio broadcast, writing, theater, and press. Since 2020, he has been writing articles on a weekly basis in the edition of the only Greek expatriate magazine of Australia Greeks, with book reviews and cultural events. In 2021, his first book was published under the title Synergy of Time, with a scenic collaboration of poems of poet Dimitris Stoaritis. He is a member of the network of expatriate writers of the 5 continents. Christos, you have the floor. Christos Niaros.
Καλημέρα, καλησπέρα. Τώρα με ακούτε, φαντάζομαι.
Ναι,
Thank you very much for this invitation, and I hope it's coming a lot of the future, because the time is very important for everybody, I started with this, and I started my poetry πεζοποίημα in Greek and after in English. Μοσχοβολές και αγάπες, νοχελικά να ριχάτε το γεσεμί στο φράχτη απέναντί μου. Το φεγγάρι με κοιτάει χωρίς δεύτερη σκέψη και η φλιερία των αισθήσεών μας ανάμεσά μας νοσταλγικά σιωπή στον καναπέ. Από τις τόσες μάχες που δώσαμε με την καθημερινότητα και τα φωνήεντά της, τα αποτελέσματα αυτών των σειράξεων εντός, εκτός μας γνώριμα και πατρίδα δεν έχουν. Μυρίζουν βαριά τα αρώματα της κάθε μέρας που φεύγει, με έναν υδρότα από το μεροδούλι μεροφάει να πλανάται στην ατμόσφαιρα και μεταξύ μας. Ανέπαφα μας καθυλώνει, μας γονατίζει στην κυριολεξία, λες και μόνο έτσι η ζωή είναι φτιαγμένη. Ακαριαία και οι λέξεις της αγάπης, ως θεωρία και ανάγκη μας από ανέκαθεν, βάφουν τα πουκάμισα της ήττας με χαμόγελο. Μα τώρα χάνονται στον ορίζοντα των υποσχέσεων και σε μια τους μετάφραση σαν μήνυμα σε μπουκάλι στον ωκεανό της μνήμης, που ακόμα ψάχνει να βρει στεριά, παίζει με τα κύματα σήματα των κοινωνικών δικτύων των χρόνων της. Στις νύχτες λοιπόν που τα ζήσαμε όλα αυτά και εκείνα τους, γρήγορα, πολύ γρηγορότερα και από το όνειρο της ουτοπίας μας, σημειωτών οι εκδοχές τους ειρηνικά επιστρέφουν και από αυτό τους το ταξίδι το σημαίνω γίνεται σημενόμενο ρήμα που τα πάντα και το τίποτα των αισθήσεων το επανεκκινεί. Το χέρι μας κρατούν, την πλάτη μας χτυπούν, το μάτι τους μας κλείνουν, τη μύτη μας την τραβούν, μας ξαναβγάζουν και στο μπαλκόνι και συλλαβιστά στο εδώ και τώρα στάζει ο υδρότας τους πάνω μας, μα κυρίως στην ψυχή μας. Σε αυτή λοιπόν τη φρέσκια πια μοσχοβολιά τους παραδοθήκαμε ανεφόρων και ορίων. Μάχη σώμα με σώμα, δώσαμε πήραμε και οι λέξεις της αγάπης πλέουν και σε πελάγι ευτυχίας, μα και μπρος και πίσω από τις δυο πόρτες που έχει η ζωή. Εννοείται μέχρι νεοτέρας. And in English, the title Smells and Loves. Lazy climbs the jasmine on the fence before me. The moon gets up on me without a second thought. Our feelings nostalgically whisper silence on the couch. From the many battles we have fought in the day-to-day life and notice the result of these conflicts are within and without unknown. They have no country, no home. The heavy scent of sweet with its groundhog day that passed lingers in the atmosphere between us. Untouchable, it brings us to our knees, for that the only way alive is made. Instantly, our words of love paint our sets of defeat with a weary smile. They are lost in the horizon of promises, and in translation, like a message in the bottle of the ocean of memory that is still trying to find land, tossing the waves with a signal of social networks of the time. So, in the nights when we experience all, rationally, much faster than the dream of our utopia, we note versions and return peacefully. In this journey, the significant becomes a significant verb where everything and nothing of the sense restarted. They hold our hands, they tap our back, they turn a blind eye to us, they pull our noses, they take us to the balcony again, and spelled out in here and now. The sweet drips upon us, but mainly in our soul. Then, in this now fresh, sweet scent, we surrendered without conditions and no limits. Hand to hand compact, we gave, we took, at the words of love now sealing in the sea of joy, but also fronted back of the two doors of the life. at least until further notice. Thank you very much.
Evaristo, thank
you,
you so
Christos.
much, Christos. Beautiful. Polikala.
Christos. Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
Our next poet, our next American poet is going to be Kristina Brown, who is a writer, painter, poet, and co-editor of this new anthology. And she often writes about what people will and will not do for love. Kristina?
I'm going to read two pieces. The first is a work in progress. I'm going to work on it until the march later this afternoon. And the second is about what helps to give us strength in these challenging times. First, the work in progress. In Palestine, not long ago, two authoritarian, woman-hating, lying governments traded provocations. They both needed a war to survive. Hamas wanted to recapture the attention of the Arab world and keep Saudi Arabia from selling them out. Netanyahu wanted to distract his fellow citizens and his American funders from his corruption, his attempted government takeover, and the ever-growing illegal occupation of the West Bank. Now, in Gaza, as the bombs pour down and the bullets fly, kill thousands of children and unresisting innocents, and in the West Bank, the settlers step up their campaigns of displacement by murder, sorrow, outrage, anger, but most of all, powerlessness almost overwhelm my ability to write. I go out and march. I try to think of better words, better ideas. Still the best tool I have, we have, to end the war. And second, from the recent anthology, From the Fire, Phosphorescent, in 4 parts, for all the poets who sometimes perform outdoors. 1. Phosphorescent. I love the word, the way it sounds, what it means, giving light after the presence and then the absence of light. But it often overwhelms every word around it. 2. This is a message from the incandescent liminal zone where life fights death, where we give people, including ourselves, reasons to live. The place of extremity, intensity, where pastel glows electric against the black, makes ever-expanding mandalas. 3. From the fire, embers pop, explode, disappear. From the fire, sparks fly up. They mix with the silver stars above the dark blue horizon. I blink, see orange silhouettes, phosphorescent, flowers, faces, bodies, spirits, of the innumerable adored dead. The ones I loved while they lived, they lift me up into the bright, darkness. 4. Now, tonight, beneath the tower, brighter images of those who create, sing and laugh, yip like coyotes, and proclaim. They, you, make complex patterns of delight, shine over the old glow. Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you. Now we're going to Athena Vogiatzoglou. Athena Vogiatzoglou is a professor of modern Greek literature at the University of Ioannina. She has published various books on modern Greek poets, as well as 2 collections of poems, Amoreti in 2019 and Portraits in 2021. Her first novella is in print. Poems, short stories, and critical essays of hers are being published in magazines and in literary sites in the internet. Athena, have the floor. I'm afraid we don't hear you, Athena. You're muted.
I'm sorry. Hello, thanks a lot, Sarah. I'm very glad to be here with you in such crucial historical moments that we live in worldwide. I will read my poems first in English and then in Greek. I will start with a poem about an important Sufi Ottoman poet of the 17th century who was exiled and he died on my island, Limnos. Niazi Misri. He demanded social justice, and exiled by Mehmet IV, he ended his days on Philoctetes Island. From all over the empire, the believers flocked to his grave. Today, in the world of multiplicity, I am the man called Niazi, but in the world of oneness, the secret of God, I am, he wrote. Yet at the name of one, the one was disjointed. Populations were exchanged. The mausoleum was demolished. The subtle substance of worship evaporated. Sensitive riddles we have become. How could they understand us through words and form and body? We are neither word nor form. Pure meaning we have become, he wrote. And thus, out of the sudden turns of history, pure meaning remains for those who seek for riddles. And in Greek, Niazi Misri. Κοινωνική δικαιοσύνη απέτησε και ξόριστος από το Μεχμέτ τον τέταρτο τελείωσε τις μέρες του στο νησί του Φιλοκτήτη. Από όλα της αυτοκρατορίας στα μέρη συνέρεαν στον τάφο του οι πιστοί. Σήμερα στον κόσμο της πολλαπλότητας είμαι ένας άνθρωπος που λέγεται Μισρή, αλλά στον κόσμο της ενότητας είμαι το μυστικό του Θεού, έγραφε. Όμως το όνομα του ενός το αίμα κομματιάστηκε. Οι πληθυσμοί ανταλλάχτηκαν. Γκρεμίστηκε ο τουρμπές. Η λεπτή ουσία της λατρείας εξατμίστηκε. Αφού γρίφοι έχουμε γίνει, πώς να μας καταλάβουν μέσα από λέξεις και μορφές και σώματα? Δεν είμαστε ούτε λέξεις ούτε μορφή. Καθαρό νόημα έχουμε γίνει, έγραφε. Και έτσι από όλες τις απότομες στροφές της ιστορίας, το καθαρό νόημα μένει. Για εκείνους που αναζητούν τους γρίφους. The next poem I will read to you is also based on a true story about which I was informed thanks to the PhD of one of my students. The events took place in a camp of political prisoners in Albania during the dictatorship of Enver Hoxha. The crane called Seip. Wounded on his left wing, in his lament, he banged his beak on the rocks. Cheney discerned the cruel night's white vision. Starting then, they shared fairly his meal. Saip grew in strength, his neck now like a swan's, his feet like those of a bird of paradise. Easily could he carry chunky babies, but this was a man's land. When crowds of his likes arrived, migrating to the south, he yearned to live with them. For months, the impulse to fly swollen him. They all attacked him with their beaks, Jenny's soul brother. They ripped into him like bullets, him trusted by the convicts. His grave was immaculate, almost human. And in Greek, ο Λέλεκας είπε, λαβώθηκε στο αριστερό φτερό, θρηνούσε χτυπώντας δυνατά το ράμφος του στις πέτρες. Ο Τσένι διέκνε τη λευκή οπτασία στην ανελαίτη νύχτα. Έκτοτε, οι δυο τους δίκαια μοιραζόνταν το συσίτιο. Ο Σαΐπ δυνάμωσε. Ο λαιμός του κύκνο θύμιζε τα πόδια του, πουλί του παραδείσου. Εύκολα θα μπορούσε να μεταφέρει ρωμαλαία μωρά, όμως εδώ ήταν των ανδρών η χώρα. Όταν ήρθαν τα σμήνη των ομοίων του, αποδημώντας για τον νότο, θέλησε μαζί τους να φύγει. Μήνες επουαζόταν μέσα του η ορμή της πτήσης. Επιτέθηκαν με όλα τους τα ράμφη, στο Τσένι τον αυτάδερφο. Τον τρύπησαν σαν σφαίρες, τον κατάδικον, τον έμπιστο. Άσπυλος ο τάφος του, σχεδόν ανθρώπινος. From history, I will now take you to the mythical world of the Old Testament. The poem was written 20 or even more years ago, and it is called Salome. His stemming head on the tray, serving it himself, wearing his tails. His head with a half-twisted moustache, he, carefully shaved. Let the cameras be moved. Let the light be shine on the inexpressive back, on the moustache's sarcasm, and on the jagged sadness of the lips. When stabbed, he falls. Let Salome, while dancing, try on the head. Let her try it with whatever strength is left to her. Salome. Το αχνιστό κεφάλι του στο δίσκο. Ο ίδιος με φράκο να το προσφέρει. Το κεφάλι με μουστάκι ελαφρώς τριμμένο. Ο ίδιος τσιρισμένος προσεκτικά. Να μετακινηθούν οι κάμερες. Το φως να πέσει στην ανέκφραστη πλάτη. Στο μουστακιού το σαρκασμό και στον χιλιών την πριονισμένη θλίψη. Όταν πέσει μαχαιρωμένος, η Σαλόμη να προβάρει το κεφάλι χορεύοντας. Να προβάρει το κεφάλι με όση προσοχή της απομένου. And the last poem I will read to you today is from my recent poetic collection, Portraits, and it is a kind of intimately personal poem, a kind of self-portrait, if you like. It is called The Leaf. It fell heavy on my head as I was reading. A gentle breeze was blowing, and as I was opening up, elevated, it gave me a fright. Was it a hard sparrow? An omen from the heavens? No, it was a leaf, huge, a deep yellow. I noticed its veins. They had just dried up, its shape like a crown with 3 peaks, the tip still moist of the stalk. When afternoon came, it started to close up, to lose its flexibility. Its harmonious edges crumpled. My first autumn came in just one day. Το φύλλο. Έπεσε βαρύ στο κεφάλι μου, καθώς διάβαζα. Φυσούσα ένα αεράκι μαλακό, και έτσι όπως ξετυλιγόμουν προς τα πάνω, σκιάχτηκα. Ήταν σπουργίτη πληγωμένο, των ουρανών προμήνυμα. Όχι, ένα φύλλο ήταν, τεράστιο, βαθικίτρινο. Παρατήρησα τις μόλις νεκρωμένες φλέβες, το σαν κορώνας σχήμα του, με 3 κορφές, την υγρή ακόμη αιχμή του κοτσανιού. Το απόγευμα άρχισε να κλείνει, να χάνει την ευληγησία του. Οι αρμονικές του άκρες τσάκισαν. Σε 1 μέρα μέσα έφτασε το πρώτο μου φθινόπωρο. Thanks a lot for listening to my poems.
Thank you, Athena.
Athanasiadou, Athena, beautiful, very powerful, as all of these poems are very powerful. So Sarah Menefee was here a little while ago, but she doesn't seem to be here. So if she gets back, we'll fit her in later. So then our next reader will be Nina Serrano. And Nina received the Penn Award here for her book Headstrong, Selected Poems, Best Book Award from Artist Embassy. She produces Open Book on KPFA FM radio and La Raza Chronicles, and she was one of the founders of the Mission Cultural Center in San Francisco, and a local legend. It's Nina Serrano.
Thank you, John. I apologize for this. It's temporary. for some stitches, 12 stitches for removal of skin cancer. I apologize that I do not speak Greek, so I will read my work in English. But you all speak English. You're all amazing. The greatest show on earth. I grew up in New York City. Every year, my Uncle Paul took me to see the greatest show on earth, the Barnum and Bailey Ringling Brothers Circus. We'd see the death-defying acts, acrobats on the ceiling, holding on to a strap by their teeth, falling in dizzying spirits to the ground. Squads of wild and crazy clowns would keep us laughing with their silliness, but the lion tamer, locked in a cage with 6 hungry wild beasts, with his long crackling whip, had us in terrified awe as he controlled them and made them obey his commands with a loud snap of his whip. We knew that at any moment they could turn against him and eat him up, or worse still, come into the audience and eat us up. Luckily, it never happened. But one year, I thought I was too grown up and sophisticated for going to the circus. We went to Broadway musicals and plays instead. Though in all those 70 more years, nothing has been as thrilling as the Barnum and Bailey Ringling Brothers Circus. Thank you. This next poem is called On Singing, and it makes reference to the hit parade. The hit parade in English refers to a group of very commercially popular songs, the most commercially popular songs of the moment. So that's the hit parade. And this is called On Singing. Let's sing the song that hums along the breastbone, vibrating head and chest, letting teeth chase words out of mouth, trade them in for sounds like trees in a windstorm, or the sudden silence of an electric power failure when you know you have to get through it on your own breath. Move up and down the scale till you find that do does not have to follow re or mi. There are other notes, but they were chased and marched out by the hit parade, and now you have to struggle for them. Your voice lowers with age. The high notes race away with youth and crack if you try to chase them. Let them go. Let them go. Go down lower. Another, and where you used to get, and find out what's down there. Where did your infant cry go when you called out in the night and nobody came? Where is that howl and piercing cry that brings out the curiosity of cats, the echoes and hollows of dogs, and the silence of the moon, and the silence of the moon that reaches your sleeping lover in his dreams? Will he remember your songs when you are gone, absent? Will you really be absent? Is it possible to not exist, to run out of songs and even not to hum? End in a death rattle. Aum, chiki chiki, boom boom, chiki chiki, boom boom, boom. Thank you. And this is about my friend, a Cuban poet, Pablo Armando Fernandez, a poet's poet. Cuban poet Pablo Armando Fernandez loved being a poet. It was more than writing and publishing poems and giving readings. His life was poetry itself, garnishing vibrant metaphors and lyric feelings, caressing the moment and sailing them into the universe, filling the ticks and tocks of time with the romance of poetic ecstasy. Revolution, he shouted, loving the impact on society, its topsy-turvy change of the order of things. The lowest was raised from the oppressive depths to the expansive heights, where wild desires could be enjoyed and elaborated with adjectives and adverbs, adding to the nouns and verbs, gilding daily life beyond sunshine and into the realm of poetry. And I'll close with a poem called We Are in Vogue. Vogue is the name of a very popular style magazine about fashion. And it also means what's in style, Vogue. We are in vogue. 106-year-old Filipina is on the cover of Vogue. This means that we are now declared officially beautiful. In the next few months and years, our shift in societal perception will become noticeable. Less facelifts, less hair dye. Soft folds will merge on our faces rather than wrinkles. Breasts will have lowered rather than sagged. Our words will be perceived to be wise rather than old-fashioned. Our slipping memory will become poetic wisdom, where we can no longer be relied on for the facts and the details. Granny styles will emerge again. Our old out-of-date dresses will become the latest retro. Retro will hold great value as we evolve into a beauty symbol. Our involuntary naps will be declared beauty rest. So we may even have to give up rest and find energy for our new status as beauty queens, crowned as wise, mature, and eternally beautiful. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to share these poems with you and to hear your poems. I so wish that we could speak your language as well as you're speaking ours.
Very theatrical performance, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Nina, that was great. Shall I continue with Stathis Koutsounis? Stathis Koutsounis was born in 1959 in Nea Phydalia, Olympia, at Peloponnese region. He is a poet, an essayist, and a critic. He has studied law, literature, and classical music. He has published 6 poetry collections: Etude for Voice and Poetry, 1987, Blood Harvest, 1991, Variations of Black, 1998, The Terrorism of Beauty, 2004, Insects in Intensive Care, nominated for the Poetry Awards of Diavazo magazine, 2008, Snapshots of the Body, 2014, At No One's Land, nominated for the Jean Moreas Poetry Awards at 2020. He has also published books of literary and other studies, critical essays, monographies, stories, and short stories. Poems and stories of his have been included in anthologies and translated into many European languages, Arabic and Persian. He is a full member of the Hellenic Author Society and the Poet Circle. Stathis, you have the floor. Stathis, I think you're muted. We cannot hear you. Unmute your microphone. Okay. Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much for invitation. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, Σάρα. Ξεκινώ την ανάγνωση, εγώ στα ελληνικά, η Σάρα στα αγγλικά. Ελένη. Καθόταν μόνη στον γειτόνα, η ακόλαστη σάρκα της συντηρούσε τη μνήμη και στο μυαλό της έρχονταν σκηνές από τον πόλεμο, παλικάρια που πέσανε για χάρη της στη μάχη, ήρωες που λιώνανε για ένα άγγιγμα, για μια ματιά της. Της άρεσε κι ο Πάρης κι ο Μενέλαος και τόσοι άλλοι Τρώες και Έλληνες. Τώρα καθώς κοιτάζεται γυμνή στον καθρέφτη, ξελιγωμένη από τη λαγνία που βράζει ακόμη στο κορμί της, βλέπει τις ρητίδες της σαν τύψεις για τους εραστές που πόθησε μα δεν την κλέψανε. Και ξεσπάει σε λυγμούς όταν φαντάζεται πόσες ακόμη τρίες θα μπορούσε η αχαλήνωτη μανία της να κουρσέψει.
Helen of Troy. She was sitting alone in her bedroom. Her sensual flesh kept her memory alive, and scenes from the war came to her. Young men killed to battle for her sake. Heroes languished for a touch of hers, for a look. She liked Paris and Menelaus, and so many other Trojans and Hellenes. Now, as she stands naked before the mirror, given over to lust, still boiling in her body, she sees her wrinkles as remorse for the lover she desired and didn't carry her off. And she dissolves into tears when she thinks of how many other Troys her incontinent rage could loot.
Το δερμάτινο. Ανοίγω την ντουλάπα και διαλέγω το πιο ζεστό, το κρύο έξω τσουχτερό, το αγαπημένο μου δερμάτινο. Τη στιγμή που το φοράω, γίνονται χέρια τα μανίκια του, πόδια ζώου μάλλον με νύχια μητερά, που με γραπώνουν από το στέρνο. Αισθάνομαι στην πλάτη μου στήθος ελουροειδούς και η ανάσα μου κόβεται. Με σφίγγει αργά, ακούω τα οστά να σπάνε και ωστόσο στο βάραθρο μέσα του τρόμου βλέπω να κατεβαίνουν σκοινιά και σκάλες ηλασμού μόλις μου τραβάει μια νυχιά από τον αφιένα μέχρι τους γλουτούς και αρχίζει να με γδέρνει αλίπητα ο μαύρος πάνθυρας.
The leather jacket. I open the closet and pick my warmest. It's freezing cold outside. My most favorite leather jacket. The moment I put it on, its sleeves become hands, or rather animal feet with sharp nails, which grab me from the collarbone. I feel on my back the chest of a wildcat that takes my breath away. It squeezes me slowly. I hear my bones cracking. And yet, right in the abyss of terror, I see ropes and stairs of atonement descending as soon as it draws its tongue from the rape of my neck to the buttocks and starts flaying me unmercifully. The Black Panther.
Ο κουκούτσι. Είσαι ο καρπός που ανοίγει και θα μπίζει άγριο στο βάθος το κουκούτσι. Ρετσίνι δακρύζει από μέσα, σταγόνα σταγόνα, στην αχόρταστη γλώσσα μου. Τρίβομαι σκουλίκι, ανάμεσα σε φλούδα και πυρήνα, χώνομαι στη λάσπη, τεντώνομαι, ώσπου να γίνω άσπυλο λευκό, στα σπλάχνα σου να ανέβω.
the stone. You are fruit that splits, and in the center wildly shines its stone. Regin oozes within, and falls in drops on my clatomous tongue. I wriggle worm-like between peel and pit, sink and stretch in the slime, till, spotless white, I enter deep inside you.
Το ραβδί. Δεν είμαι εκείνος που ήμουν, ούτε και θα είμαι αυτός που είμαι. Πάντα μια κύρκη αδιάκοπα μ' ακουμπάει με το ραβδί της.
The stick. I am not who I was, nor will I be who I am. Always and constantly, a Circe touches me with her stick.
Ο συνοδός. Επίμονα σχεδόν μ' ακολουθεί, χωρίς να με ρωτάει. Μπερδεύεται στα πόδια μου αμίλητος. Άλλοτε πάει μπροστά, άλλοτε πίσω κι άλλοτε από τα πλάγια ξεφυτρώνει. Ενίοτε με εξοργίζει, μα όποτε εξαφανίζεται αισθάνομαι μισός. Ώσπου μια μέρα εκεί που περπατούσα, ξεκολλάει από τα πόδια μου και κοκαλώνει κατά γης. Πρώτη φορά τον έβλεπα αποκομμένο να κοίταται ατάραχος. Αμέσως ένιωσα σαν κάτι να μου λείπει. Κοιτάζομαι, πιάνομαι, αλλά δεν έχω σώμα. Ένας ίσκιος είμαι και ο ίσκιος στο χώμα, το σώμα μου.
The escort. He hardly ever stops following me without asking. He gets underfoot speechless. He goes either ahead or comes behind, and other times he springs from the sides, which tends to irritate me. But whenever he disappears, I feel I'm half a man. Till one day, as I was walking, he was untangled from my legs and fell flat on the ground. For the first time, I saw him detached, lying unruffled. I instantly felt that I was missing something. I looked at myself, touched myself, but I've nobody. The shadow I am, and the shadow on the ground, my body.
Το πρώτο δώρο. Την ίδια στιγμή γεννηθήκαμε, απ' την ίδια μαμή που σ' ακούμπησε πάνω στο σώμα μου δώρο. Ποτέ δεν σε αποχωριζόμουν, σε έλουζα, σε τάιζα, σε έπαιζα και σε χάιδευα και ας γρατζουνούσες στη σάρκα μου τα βινίλια, τα βιβλία, τα χαρτιά μου. Σαν να σε κληρονόμησα με υποχρέωση ισόβιου δεσμού. Κι αν σε αισθανόμουν ενίοτε ανεπιθύμητο κατοικίδιο, τόσο σε είχα συνηθίσει, τόσο ακαταμάχητο ένιωθα το γουργουριτό σου, που ούτε καν ο αδαής διέκρινα τον ήχη σου που ορίμαζε.
The first gift. We were born the same moment, from the same midwife who placed you, as a gift, on my body. I never parted with you. I bathed you, fed you, played with you and caressed you, regardless that you scratched my flesh, my records, books, and papers, as if I had inherited you with the obligation of a lifelong bond. And though at times I felt you were an undesirable domestic animal, I was so used to you, so irresistible was your gurgle, that, oblivious me, I never noticed your nail growing.
Thanks a lot. Ευχαριστώ
Thank you.
πολύ, Σάρα.
Oh, thank you so much. That was excellent. So our next poet is Roarshock, also known as D.A. Wilson, although in the Bay Area, if you talked about his real name, very few people would know what you're talking about, but everybody knows who Roarshock is. And he plays the harmonica and picks a little banjo besides being a poet. And he reads and publishes poetry locally. And besides his day job, he dips and sells beeswax candles. So here is.
That's somebody else's bio, John. I'll take it, but
Oh, besides, that's not your bio. Okay,
it's all right.
Whatever.
And I'm on the internets at www.roarshock.net. I have lots of poetry and so forth. And I am just delighted to be here with you all. I think that poets are essential to culture and society at any time and in these times. And I think one of the great things happening is the way that through Zoom and other online platforms, we're able to communicate and meet up from all over the world and share our work and get to know each other. I'm going to read a few poems from my little chapbook. And it's going to start with the title poem. First hours of a rainy day. Lines in Oakland lines. Endless freeways in California. Misty forests and angel minstrels. All is lines. Loved the girl, he loved the girl. Orange thinness, yellow sun. Springs and clocks. Human fetus. Incredible photos. Beatles in yellow submarines. The circle is magic. Child's art and pumpkins grand. Such a perfect smile. No more gone. All is darkness, never ending. The sun's not seen in Oakland, but lines are in the painter's eyes. The second poem is called Hoga for Yaga. God in flesh observes wonder. Ha! The seamless seam. Albert Einstein, techno whiz, let go of what he knew and saw the world again. The actors spoke through masks. They did not show their faces. Only words came through. Death, death, they shuddered. Oh, say that it's not true. The doctors spoke with twisted glee, their iron fangs agleam, fighting for peace. You must accept, they said. You must do the most difficult thing of all, which is to do nothing. Letting go of who you thought you were so you can expand your self-image. All healing is self-healing. You must pay attention. When I see a person, they are not whole. I only see a cross-section. Like a thief in the night, he snuck around, laying hands on people and praying for them. And they were getting well. You're out in the woods, eating well, meditating, doing what you do. Hilarious emptiness, inability to know social capabilities, traps you in constructs of your own mind. What do you say to that? Open to the now, not while engaged in webs of thoughts and other crap. Split down the middle. There must be some way to reconcile. Holistic means to be made whole once again after being rent asunder out here. either somebody's lying or there's something wrong with our language. All healing is self-healing. High Sierra. The lake is ice blue, and higher are the white peaks where ice giants play. The mountains gleam from far away. In the sunset on the lake, the shaggy man howls at the wind. And finally, where earth meets sky. On a high mountain pass, all about me peaks, crowned with clouds, deep valley wells. The wind blows alive, mountains as far as the eye can see. The walk sweat cool upon me, balanced in the sky. I strip off my outer skin and fling it on the wind. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Now we're going to Konstantinos Bouras. Dr. Konstantinos Bouras was born in Kalamata, a town in the Peloponnese region of Greece in 1962. He has studied mechanical engineering at the National Metsovio Institute of Technology in Athens and has been working in this field since 1985. Has also graduated with honors in theatrical studies in the School of Philosophy at Athens University, postgraduate studies in theater at La Nouvelle Sorbonne. In 2019, he obtained his PhD with honors in literature, foreign languages, translation and theatrology from the Ionian University in Corfu, visiting professor at the University of Athens. 45 volumes of his poetic works have been published, as well one novel. Konstantinos Bouras.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I am in Nicosia, Cyprus, in a bar after the end of the 16th Universal Literary Festival in Cyprus. I will start immediately. Διαλογισμός ευκαλύπτου. Παρατηρώ τα φύλλα των ευκαλύπτων. Τα ψηλά λυκνίζονται στον άνεμο και υπόκεινται στα καπρίτσια του καιρού. Τα χαμηλά καλύπτονται. Τα πλέον ασφαλή είναι στον κορμό. Βαθύτατος πόθος της ψυχής για παράδεισο. Επιστροφή στο ένα. Eucalyptus meditation. I noticed the eucalyptus leaves, the tall ones sway in the wind and subject to the vagaries of the weather. The lows are covered. The safest ones are in the trunk, deepest longing of the soul for paradise, back to one. Faust, πόσο μυρικών, light. Μπορείς να διορθώσεις τις μέρες σου, δεν μπορείς όμως να τις αλλάξεις. Σε κάμαρες δυσίλειες αυτοπυρπολήθηκα και πριν να φέξει χαραυγή στολήν αυγερινού εντύθηκα και χάθηκα μες στη βροχή. Για κάθε νησίδα αυξανόμενης εντροπίας στο σύμπαν υπάρχει και η αντίθετή της, όπου το χάος υποχωρεί και ο λόγος επανευρίσκεται, ισορροπία. Αυτό που μας φαίνεται δίχως νόημα είναι απλώς ένας ρυθμός που ο φτωχός ανθρώπινος εγκέφαλός μας δεν προλαβαίνει και δεν δύναται να παρακολουθήσει, να αντιληφθεί εν τέλει πως υπάρχει κάτι εκεί έξω, πλατύτερο από την ανασφαλή αλαζονία μας. Μη φοβήστε το σκότος. Αδέλφη είναι του φωτός και μάνα του ακριβή, λεβεντογεννήτρα. Ας τετραγωνίσουμε τον θεμέλιο λίθο της ύπαρξής μας. Ας ορθογωνίσουμε την απόσταση ανάμεσα στην καρδιά και στο μυαλό. Το μεγαλύτερο διάνυσμα στη φύση. Φάος ομηρικών, light. You can correct your days. You can't change them though. In poorly lit chambers, I was ignited, and way before dawn broke its light, I slipped into the morning star's garment, and I vanished into the rain. For every islet of increased entropy in the universe, there is also its opposite, where chaos ebbs, and the world is retrieved. Balance. What seems to us meaningless is simply a rhythm that our poor human brain does not have the time or the ability to follow, to grasp, that there is, after all, something out there much wider than our insecure arrogance. Do not be frightened of darkness. It's the brother of light, and its mother precious, the womb which gives birth to the man of courage. Let us square the foundation stone of our existence. Let us orthogonalize the distance between heart and mind, the greatest vector in nature. And now I will finish with something which does not need of translation. It's a mantra, mantra Bouras, for the renaissance of the universal civilization. Amamin, Amayin, Amamen, Amathal, Amaval, Amayil, Amamon, Amanem, Amanom, Amayel, Amapel, Amayin, Amaran. Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantinos. That was great.
Well, since Sarah Menefee, her internet went down, so she couldn't get back in. So that leaves Sarah and myself to read as the final readers today. Would you like to read first, Sarah, or would you? I can't hear you. What's your?
I said, don't you think, dear John, that we have already said too much?
Well, we have a few. We have to finish it since we're poets. We have to finish with
Okay, okay. If we're allowed, okay, we continue.
Okay. Let me introduce you here. Sarah Thilykou is a translator, poet, essayist, book reviewer, and editor. Her publications include Duet of Islands, Kyoto 2018, and Angelic Flights, New York 2021. So I give you a Sarah Thilykou.
Thank you, thank you. As I already said to you, I think I've already said too much, so I'll try to read less. So from a book of mine, it's Their Name, and I will show it to you as it's a poem for a Vietnamese girl who died in Essex a few years ago. She was trying to escape from Vietnam to the West, and it is dedicated to all women, immigrants, refugees, oppressed women. For instance, the Iranian novelist Nargis Mohammadi, who is not allowed to enter the hospital because of her denial to wear hijab. So, I'm dying because I can't breathe. The rice fields of Vietnam smell of death, and on the air it still echoes that radio man's good morning. A new life is all I want. I'm dying because I can't breathe. It's a long way to the west. The countries are ice cold, but most of all the track. On a journey to another world, do souls sometimes freeze in freedom? I'm dying because I can't breathe. Eternity suffocates me. All existence is pain. Where can I put its weight? I want to escape to nothing. I'm dying because I can't breathe. Locked in so little flesh, pale skin, black hair, red lips. Inside it, I don't fit. Yet everywhere I flow over. Where can I find a place to belong? I'm dying because I can't breathe. There is no other world at all. Brilliant colors I count in Vietnam sunset. My own self is where I belong. In that beauty, I'll always live happy. Pham Thi Tra was the name of that girl. Πεθαίνω γιατί δεν μπορώ να αναπνεύσω. Του Βιετνάμ οι οριζόνες θάνατο μυρίζουν. Και στον αέρα αντυχεί ακόμη εκείνη η καλημέρα του εκφωνητή. Μια καινούρια ζωή είναι ό,τι θέλω. Πεθαίνω γιατί δεν μπορώ να αναπνεύσω. Είναι μακρύς ο δρόμος προς τη δύση. Ψυχρές οι χώρες, μα πιο πολύ το φορτηγό. Σε ένα ταξίδι για έναν άλλο κόσμο, παγώνουν κάποτε οι ψυχές μες στην ελευθερία. Πεθαίνω γιατί δεν μπορώ να αναπνεύσω. Η αιωνιότητα μου προκαλεί ασφυξία. Η ύπαρξη όλη είναι ένας πόνος. Το βάρος της, πού να κουμπίσω. Θέλω να αποδράσω στην ανυπαρξία. Πεθαίνω γιατί δεν μπορώ να αναπνεύσω. Σε αυτό το μικροσκοπικό σαρκείο κλειδωμένη, δέρμα οχρό, μαύρα μαλλιά, κόκκινα χείλη, μέσα του δεν χωρώ, παντού όμως περισσεύω. Πού να βρω έναν τόπο να μου ανήκει. Πεθαίνω γιατί δεν μπορώ να αναπνεύσω. Κανένας άλλος κόσμος δεν υπάρχει. Στο Βιετνάμ τη Δύση, χρώματα λαμπερά μετρώ. Ο εαυτός μου είναι ο τόπος που μου ανήκει. Και εκεί στην ομορφιά θα ζω για πάντα ευτυχισμένη. And now the poem from our new anthology, Healing a Fractured World, Ancient Anger. From the depths of the future, an ancient anger is rising. Act 1 of history. I stand out and wonder, who was the assassin of my brother? The human voice replies to me, I, the ancient beast, I, in the dullness of the world, I am not you yet. You are standing in front of me. Don't be afraid. Sing to me, write to me. As humanly possible, be at last a human. Let me be. Από τα έγκατα του μέλλοντος, αρχαίος υψώνεται θυμός. Πράξη πρώτη της ιστορίας. Εξίσταμαι και απορώ. Ποιος ήταν ο φωνεύς του αδελφού μου? Η ανθρώπινη φωνή μου απαντά. Εγώ. Εγώ. Το αρχαίο θηρίο. Εγώ. Στη χάβνωση του κόσμου. Εγώ. Δεν είμαι εσύ ακόμη. Εσύ. Μπροστά μου στέκεσαι. Μη φοβάσαι. Τραγούδισέ μου. Γράψε μου. Κάνε επιτέλους το ανθρωπίνος δυνατό. Τον άνθρωπο άσε με να κάνω. And the last one about this insanity of war. Two mothers, Hagar and Sarah, the bond, the free one. Two sons, Ismael and Isaac, the son of the bond, the son of the free. Yet there is neither bond nor free. Two pairs of warm brown eyes, expelled in the desert of the world, where the scorpions of the earth have power, two sons, Abrahams, fighting for love, for tolerance, as the sun sets in a hungry sky, bleeding from crimson to purple. Two suns in the sky, one God, reigning over that very sky. Instead of reading it into Greek, I would like to share with you a French translation, if I may, of this poem. I'm grateful to Alexis Bernot, who made this translation. Deux mères, Agar et Sarah, l'un travée, l'un libre. Deux fils, Ismaël et Isaac, le fils de la femme entravée, le fils de la femme libre. Et pourtant, il n'est ni de chaîne ni de liberté. Deux paires de yeux brillent chaud, expulsés dans le désert du monde, où le pouvoir est aux scorpions de la terre. Deux fils, ceux d'Abraham, se battant au nom de l'amour, de la tolérance, tandis que le soleil se couche dans un ciel affamé, et qui sent du carmin au perdre. Deux fils, de soleil dans le ciel, un Dieu qui règne sur ce ciel même. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Beautiful. So I guess that leaves me here. So I will finish up with reading a few poems, and we'll move on. In earlier attacks. In earlier attacks yesterday, a flame shot out of a swan's beak. The expression of a sleeping baby took refuge in a hole in the wall. Thick black smoke filled the streets, closer to madness than to childhood. Some bleeding from shrapnel wounds and others from the glazed look of exhaustion. Firefighters trapped inside the weight of a fabric, while an old fool, fascinated by the tricks of the illusionist, does not see the blue demon sitting next to him playing a clarinet. The cloud's undersides. The cloud's undersides were dark and ragged, while their tops shined and billowed above the bare hills, almost devoid of vegetation, while not far away in the grass by a whispering stream, at the very spot where wilderness holds back civilization, the ruins of an ancient temple wince from shrapnel wounds, the state of human consciousness in our darkest age. Vehicles scatter in charred, twisted heaps, unsafe to go outside. They refuse to identify the bodies. A small girl with a red-haired rag doll left for dead at nightfall crawls away. Is this our purification by fire? The sun rose on a foggy, rain-soaked rags in the gutter, chalk drawings of disturbed children living in abandoned houses, blackened roof shingles scattered across floors inlaid with precious stone, piles of broken toys sinking into moist earth at the bottom of the pit, charred, dismembered dreams lying where they died, mass graves strewn with rotting hearts and burnt minds, roof beams lying across the kitchen table, their village still off limits until its goals are achieved, The corporations which own the media ordered them to leave or be shot when she realized that she had to live bravely, and the sun shines darkness too. And then I'll finish with the borders of the mind. The boundary between dandelion and rabbit, earthworm and soil, fish and water, seagull and wind, Ireland and Ulster, Juarez and El Paso, Gaza and Israel, Ukraine and Russia. Every mother dries her eyes while the birds fly over the borders. The boundary between wolf and wolf, lamb and lamb. The boundary between wolf and lamb, stalker and stalked, victim and violator. Everywhere the children cry while the birds fly over the borders. Daughters of Abraham, Arab sons of Semites, Celtic cousins, sons of Slavs, daughters of the Rus, sons of the Americas, daughters of the world. Today's maps are drawn not by rivers, valleys, mountains, native populations. Today's borders are not defined by nature's designs, but by power and imperial wars. Everywhere the ghosts pass by while the birds fly over the borders. The people of the northern coast, the children of the eastern slope. A mountain divides two lands. A lake has opposite shores. A river has two banks. A valley, two sides. Everywhere the wise women sigh while the birds fly over the borders. So thank you all. It's been a wonderful having you here, and hopefully we will.
Thank you greatly.
We will continue to
Nice to
do this
meet
again. We'll bring them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you greatly. It's nice to meet all of you.
It
Thank
was
you, Mr.
wonderful. It
John.
was a wonderful night. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Nice
Very
to
much.
meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Sarah and Mr.
Thank
John.
you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kalinichta.